Starting, starting in 3, 2, 1. And welcome to another episode of That Karate Podcast. My name's Dave Gallagher.
My name's Sean McLaren, and we have our new co-host,
John Clark.
Hello, John. Welcome to the team.
Thank you very much. Thanks for inviting me and thanks for having me.
So tell us a bit about yourself. Why are you here? Why are you here, John?
Well, after trying to get set up, I don't know why you want me here, but I'm here because I'm a bit of a karate geek. I've been training since 1977, and somebody thought that my expertise, if I can call it that, might come in a wee bit handy here. So here I am.
What idiot said that?
So no, some guy called Gallagher.
Well, it's great to have you on. Mark, our other host, Mark, will occasionally make guest appearances. That's what he does now. He co-stars. Occasionally, he'll pop in occasionally when he feels like it. You know you're out there, Mark. So it's great to have you on board, John. And nice to have somebody who's non-Shotokan as well to kind of come in and give us a different perspective, because obviously we are incredibly biased when it comes to Shotokan, and I can't wait to argue with you.
I don't argue.
I don't. It's not you. It's the problem, mate. It's me. I've got issues. I've got anger management issues. But no, we're looking forward to it. But Sean, so what's the rundown this week? What are we going to discuss this week?
So just get a quick rundown of topics. Obviously, we've introduced our new co-host, John. I'm sure we'll get to know him a bit better. He has an extensive background, since he said he's been training since 1977, long before I was born.
Wait a minute. Why have you got to say that? Why is it? You've got to say that. Why is that a thing? Why? Is that a thing? The only thing I'm happy about is John's older than me, so I'm actually quite happy here, because I was getting absolutely pasted off YouTube for months. So I'm sorry. That's not why we approached you, John. I swear to God, it's a happy coincidence.
Okay, apologies, John. We're also going to kind of talk about the ton of competitions. Obviously, we kind of attended one a few weeks ago. We have one in a couple of weeks, and I've seen on Facebook quite a lot of kind of competitions returning. So, kind of talking about that, and a kind of heavier topic today. We're going to talk about kind of cancellations and kind of like how kind of quitting, and just kind of general about kind of quitting culture, maybe call it.
All right, I quit. Bye. See you later. I'm out.
Bye.
So yeah, we're going to dive into that today as well. But yeah, just
quitting was an option.
Let's get a wee quick catch up anyway, since this is our first one back. This is our second series, we'll call it. Also, we had our Olympic special, so hopefully the guys enjoyed watching that.
Yeah, it wasn't very special. The Olympics was fine, but we weren't very special.
So again, Liam, how are you getting on? How's the club? How's life?
All right, mate. Ticking along, busy. Yeah, can't complain. You guys were agreeing today. That was chaotic. I like to think of organised chaos, but you know,
the photos look good.
Yeah. No, the photos always look good, mate. The photos are always what you don't see is the carnage in the background. It's like you see pictures of me and Kata, I look all right for 2 seconds, but if you actually watch the Kata, it's a riot. We still know what Kata is, mate. So
no comment.
But no, it's been good. What about you, Sean?
Yes, all good. Just keeping super busy. Yeah, honestly, so busy right now. It's just unbelievable. So I'm just kind of adding new classes and just kind of keeping the club moving forward. We had a grading last week as well, which went really well. And just kind of looking forward. The last few weeks, it's felt like we've been back to our normal schedule with karate on the Saturday, karate on the Sunday, and it's been really.
Yay.
We were happy, obviously, when first lockdown came in. We had kind of almost like a holiday as such, and then we're like, oh, we kind of missed that hustle and bustle of
what holiday. We didn't stop.
That is true. We did continue our Zoom schedule. In fact, I actually taught more classes on Zoom than I did normally.
Yeah, there was people saying it like, "Oh, I'm furloughed. This is driving me mental," and I was like,
yeah. So we're kind of back, and obviously, as I said, kind of squad trainings this week and competitions last week and next few weeks. What about yourself, John? You've been kind of keeping busy and.
Well, away for karate, just like absolute work. It's been not overly busy, but it's just been constant. no work-wise. Karate-wise, I've been using my new backyard dojo to get a bit of training in. I can finally pull off a decent shikodachi now without my knees and my hips screaming at me, which is quite good.
He said shikodachi. He started swearing already. Started talking that
fisherman stuff.
Fish.
So yeah, I can pull off a decent shikodachi now. But no, the good thing was, just before lockdown, my consultant said that he wasn't looking at needing to do any knee or hip replacements. So it's just purely going to be an exercise thing and trying to get myself back into some sort of decent shape again.
That's
fantastic.
Good.
Fantastic.
That's good. Well, I highly recommend it because I'm not in pain at all with all the training I do. So
yeah.
No, that's good. Good. Well, I think everybody I'm speaking to as well is kind of, as you say, we're getting back to it. It's still a bit weird. People are still a bit edgy, I think. I found that in the competition the other week as well. I know we're kind of bleeding into that next topic, but people are still a wee bit edgy. Some people are a bit edgy. Some people are mental and licking doorknobs and stuff, but some people are still a bit edgy and a bit nervous with the whole thing, which is understandable. But as you say, we're almost getting back to it, and the competitions are back, which I honestly didn't think was going to happen this season. I didn't think we'd get them in for this year. But we would have won a couple of weeks ago. What did you think of it, Sean?
Honestly, I thought it was well run, in my opinion. To be fair, they had any kind of clubs that had a certain amount of competitors had a separate section to sit at, so then they kind of kept each kind of club or association in their own bubble in the seating area, which I thought was a great idea. I know down south it's not mandatory to wear masks, but a lot of the Scottish guys were wearing masks, kind of sitting down and on the mats and stuff as well. Not on the mats, but coaching and walking around. So I felt it was good. It's good to be back. It was weird to be back, to be honest. It was almost like kind of surreal, because obviously this used to be a norm for us. Every week or every couple of weeks it was a competition, and that was the first one since, I think the last one we attended was March 2020, I think. So, or February 2020. So it was kind of surreal, but it was great to be back. I know my guys enjoyed it. It was good to be back coaching again, and yeah, I'm looking forward to the next one.
It's a good one to go back to, because I mean, if there's one thing that Doug James knows how to do is put on a decent event. I mean, he's been doing it for what, 30 years or thereabouts.
Yeah. There's a couple of things as a competitor. It was a bit odd, but Sean just made the face there. Not discussing that. Just the mats because obviously there was a time constraint. I totally get it, because obviously you want it out, people done. Once you're finished, go please. Totally understand that. But they had as kind of seniors kata, I was okay with kids. But those of us that are a bit, I say bigger, not that I'm much taller than most of the kids. Excuse me, I've lost the weight, big man. Can't see the telly, people, but I've lost a lot of weight. It's for stress.
You give it to me.
But yeah, there was a 7x7 mat and 2 adults doing advanced katas on it. So there was a couple of near misses for the referees.
Yeah.
I was going head on with Goji Shield Show, and I stepped in, and I either moved to the left and broke the embassy of the kata, or I took out the central referee.
Nice.
I was like, so, and I'm like, yeah, I'm going to get penalised for that. And one of my guys, Shikar, he was doing unsu, and he pulled back into his position. He kind of pulled back into position, and the referee was there, like his elbow in his face. So there's a couple of things they could have done better, but I do understand it was the first one back, and there was a time constraint, and they're trying to keep things ticking. But but as things get back to normal, they couldn't run it like that again. Is what I would argue. They couldn't run it like that again. But people would make allowances the kind of first time, but they wouldn't make it again. Yeah. So, but that was my committee was all right. The committee kind of ticked along great, but doing the kata, it was a bit weird. The finals were individual. In fairness, the finals were a bit individual, but the kind of the preliminary rounds were not. So I was a bit all right, and all the seniors were the same. It wasn't me just being a grumpy old ginger man as usual. They're all like, "How are we going to do this?" And if you do something like show to can kata, like go to see the show, you're going to the side. So you're like, with guys who are like in the audience, it's kind of the side of the left of the mat, and they're like, it's on a life raft to get them back in, so on a rope, so they can get back on the mat. But yeah, it is what it is. It was the first one back, and I think everybody was a bit edgy. The parents were a bit edgy. Everybody was a bit nervous about actually doing it because we've been so conditioned the last kind of 20 months. But it was still positive. It was still a great experience to be back at it. We've got another one in October, which is coming up. But there's been lots ticking on. I'm seeing there's one today. Mark was at today with his boys, the JSK Championship. So he was there with his squad. So it's good to see.
Yeah. When's your next biggest one up here?
Up here, I don't see anything in Scotland happening this year.
No.
I don't see any comps happening in Scotland this year. I just don't see it. England has just gone, right, we're just going with this and moving forwards, and that's the end of it. So they've made that decision. Whereas Scotland, the kind of councils that run the sports centres essentially have kind of went, not just now. That, and as a tournament organiser, it's a big financial gamble.
Yeah.
Because you're hiring a hall as we used to run the wee comp that we used to do. It was expensive just to run it.
It wasn't a wee comp. We had like 250 competitors from like 7 different countries. It wasn't a wee.
Right, okay, but it wasn't like all right. It was a decent sized comp. All right, we'll give you that. But it's still a massive financial undertaking.
Yeah.
You as an organizer are taking the hit up front, to pay for trophy medals and and venues, and if you don't have mats, you're either renting mats or you're hiring, you're renting them, getting done. So it's massive. That, and there's not enough referees at the moment.
No.
So it's a bit of a. I think it'll take a year or two to get back at it, but up here, but England's kicked on. So as I say, what's the Central English Open minute?
The Central and CIKA, I think.
Right, so I don't know. The boss tells me he drives south, and I just drive south, get put out first round, and then coach the kids the rest of the day. So.
I'm saying that you did no bad the other week.
Yeah, it was all right.
Yeah, it was all right.
I was all right. It was all right. All right for an old fart. And I don't know what happened in the final of the vets. I don't know what happened there. I don't know what I did. But I was quite happy. I didn't expect to get through the seniors.
Yeah,
because you do the senior section as an old fart at 47, when these guys are like 16 plus. You fully expect to get bumped out in the first round with somebody's Unsu or Super MP or whatever. And I get through the first round and I went, cool. And I get through a second round and I went, all right. And I get through a third round and I went, I don't know, 3 cats. I got to a fourth round.
He literally went to me and went, we need a different car.
I got to the 5th round and I was like, all right, okay. Yeah, and showdown. I didn't do that, but I was up against one of my guys in the final, which is, he's miles ahead of me. Like, he's a young kid, be athlete, he's an absolute machine. So there's no way, like, I had no right to be in the final with him, but you'll take it if you can.
Absolutely.
And I took a flag off him. And I drove him down and drove him back up the road. Did I let that poor boy forget it the entire 3-hour journey back? I got a flag off you know that, right? And he went, but I only went 70% power. That's not my problem, mate. That was your decision.
70%.
I only went 70%, sense of respect. I totally understand that, mate. But all I know is I get a flag.
I'm more impressed that he could actually dial into 70%. That's very accurate.
No, that's as long as I did 70%.
Wait a minute.
I don't have that. I just have a thermostat. It's either on or it's off.
Exactly.
But no, but it was good. I mean, our guys did really well. Our competitors, there was a couple who were a bit shaky, a bit nervous. They had competed for 20 months and they were up a section as well. So psychologically, they're still thinking they're lower sections. So there was a wee bit of a mental battle for a couple of the younger kids, but most of our guys did brilliant. So again, it's such a weird thing. As you say, Sean, from doing it like almost twice a month, 3 times a month, to to hardly ever, to the first time in 20 months. But I'm looking forward to October going down. I'm not looking forward to the 6-hour drive south.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
I'm not. I'll be honest. I don't travel. I'm like Guinness. I don't travel well. So you know what I mean? Guinness is always better than Dublin. It's never great when you fly it over. So when I always get down and I'm like 6-hour drive down, I'm booked because I'm always the driver, and then you're dealing with all your kids, and then getting everything ready, go down. You're usually first on because I'm an old fart, so they get the old guys on first, and then you're out first round, and then you get changed. So, but yeah, it's good. It's good. But hopefully, there's the K1's back. The Venice K1 is running in December, and hopefully we've got a couple of guys going to that.
Yeah,
which is great. But again, that depends on the whole traffic light system where Italy is at that point in the system. So it's difficult for foreign travel at senior events.
Yeah, I mean, watching a lot of the big events that have been on YouTube and that recently, it always seems to be the same people that are turning up in Cairo, and it's going to be the same people that are going to be in Moscow as well next week. And it's just, you just wonder, how these people getting to move around so easily.
The elite level athletes are getting a different pathway. So it's the same reason why tennis players are traveling. So there's certain, because those particular guys are like WKF and through the IOC and stuff, and they're considered elite. So they get like it a lot or loathe it. They're getting treated slightly differently. So, but they're treated very strictly. I mean, and the guys that travelled when things were a bit tougher, they were like, I wouldn't have bothered traveling. It was too much of a pain in the backside. But they are kind of, as you say, it's the same people, but they're kind of almost like in their countries, they're kind of greenlit to travel to these events.
Yeah.
So they've kind of they're already in the system, and they're kind of following the rules and regulations of their countries. The countries that have rules and regulations are kind of going that way. So yeah, it's good. We've got a pal of ours, Koji and the Moto brothers are Koji's coming out of retirement. I think he's at Dubai. So on his Instagram the other day, Koji Haramoto's one of our senseis from Japan, and he's taught over in our dojos. He's a fantastic karate guy. He's like 2012 WKF World Kata Team. Everybody will seen it, the Unsu.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, well, that's him. That's he's a phenomenal athlete, just ridiculous. He's actually better in real life.
Yeah, he's just
one of the few people I've actually been in a room with and went, oh my God. He's actually, some people you meet, not them, but I don't mean that. I don't mean you meet people in their disappointment, but he actually is better than the legend.
It's just when he moves, it sounds like a gun going off.
It's like a shotgun going off. It's not the gi. It's not the extra starch in the gi. No. Don't get me stoned. Let's not go there. That's not a Shokan thing. Let's not go there. That's another episode.
Can we wait at least to episode 2, lads, please?
Right, okay.
No, he's right. The audibles and stuff. That drives me crackers.
Wait till we start talking about shooters that look like this.
We'll get there in episode 2.
I actually bust a few of my students' jobs for that today. But a few of that, and I'm like, I can't even see it in the background, and I'm like, well, are you a Vulcan or something? What's going on here? Could you put your fingers, please? So
that's good. It's for those that don't know, obviously, John's I'd like to say you're pretty active on social media as well, and you're kind of up to date with a lot of kind of events. So I look forward to kind of tapping into a bit of that as well. And you've got kind of a lot of sources, I think, as well, John.
Yeah, well, I mean, I spent a lot of time as a competitor back in the 80s, right through to the early 2000s. And then I started writing for Martial Arts Illustrated. So, yeah.
No, it'd be good to, as I say, that it'll come in your stories and stuff as well for the podcast. And obviously, you've got to kind of follow pages and react to pages and stuff that we don't have on Facebook. So it'd be good to kind of touch into that, as well as obviously your other side of your karate that you do as well, your different style. So,
Yep. My fisherman stuff, as Liam calls it.
I only say it to wind you up. I actually have no issues with the katas. I've learned to appreciate katas from outside my style. I just know it winds you up.
Nothing winds me up. That winds me up.
You right? Watch the Windies.
And I'm not going to say anything.
John
I'm going to referee the whole the arguments because
and I have been ripping the piss out of each other for about 3 decades, so it's fine. This isn't new. This is
it's interesting about 1987.
Yes. Sean's eyes. Oh, Sean tried to do the math there. Did you see that?
Yeah. I'm going to stay out.
He almost had to take his shoes off.
I can't even do a short can kata, so I'm going to stay out the kata argument.
Right.
I can pull off a decent shot. I mean, I spent enough time with like Liam and Andy and Stephen and that when we were doing the whole Glasgow Sport Karate thing back in the day.
Don't blame me into it.
I can pull off a fairly decent Kankadai and a fairly decent Basai dive for Shotokan.
John, did you started off in Shotokan? Is that correct?
Yes, 77 to 81, yeah. And then my instructor decided I didn't like it anymore.
They just went in the wrong path.
And here I am, what, 30 odd years later.
Dark path. Down to
40 years later.
That's good. It's good to have you on. Should we move on to our second topic or a third topic?
Yes, quitting culture. I mean, people who don't persevere.
It was not the reason, so I kind of suggested this topic, and it wasn't to do, we don't want to sound like disgruntled karate instructors, but it was more, I heard it from outside of karate as well, so it's not to do with that, to be honest. It was more just to kind of get your opinions on it, gents, about, obviously you two are a lot older than me, so...
Why? Why?
So
I could be your big brother, right, slightly older big brother.
At this stage, you could probably...
Where you're from, I could be your granddad, in fairness, because there's a lot of weird stuff goes on where you're from.
Yes.
But in any other normal, civilized town, I could just be a slightly older brother.
Yeah, okay, I'll give you that.
You would be the oops baby, is what I'm saying.
So yeah, I was just, as I said, I would like to get your opinion on it. Obviously, I'll kind of come back to my opinion on it in a little minute, but we'll go to yourself, John. Do you think that people quit, whether that be sports or jobs or just in general as a culture, too easy without giving it a good go, or just when things go tough or when things don't go their way? Do you think as a country or as a culture we are...
I definitely think that there's been a definite societal shift in the last 25 years. Obviously, no, I want to try and keep this as karate related as possible. When I was coming up as a teenager, and before, like I said, I was like 7 when I started. My mum and dad were young parents. My dad was 20 when I was born. My mum was 17. But even then, they were still growing up a bit. Like when I started learning karate, they made me promise that it was going to be a commitment and I was going to stick with it.
Yeah.
And that, I mean, I didn't love karate at first. I mean, it took a good 5 years or so for me to I was like in my teens practically before I loved karate. I mean, I wanted to quit, but I wasn't allowed to quit.
Yeah.
No, mum and dad wanted me to make that commitment to do something. I didn't like playing football. No, there weren't any other sports that remotely interested me. The karate kind of held my interest, so I was made to stick with it. And then when I was teaching back, from like the early 90s onwards, I always made it clear. Granted, I wasn't teaching professionally, and I didn't have to rely on it a living. I did make a good bit of change out of it, but I didn't have to rely on it as a living. So I always had kind of like if you don't like it, go, but I really want you to stay, because you're going to learn something here. It's going to be good for you.
Yeah.
But I don't know what it is. It just seems to have been since the turn of the century and turn of the decade, that it just seems to have been now. It's too easy. I think it's too easy to quit. And you're right. It's not just karate. It's right across. It can be right across the board. And I think there's something quite sad about that.
Yeah. We'll go to Liam first, then we'll come back to myself. I've kind of just got a few, not stories, but kind of just to kind of back up my kind of thoughts on the subject, to be fair. So we'll go to Liam. Liam, without sounding like a grumpy old granddad that you are. Sorry, man. I'm just...
Listeners, can you hear this? Or if you're watching this on YouTube, can you see the abuse I'm getting? Yes, I am a granddad, yes.
No, I can't.
Lovely.
I can't slag you for being the oldest. so now I can slag you when I granddad. There you go. I'm joking. I'm just trying to lighten the tone.
Moving on. So, quitting culture. Yes, I find it. There's a myriad of issues going on from what I'm seeing from my experience. Again, I'll keep it within the martial arts, keep it within karate. People are too quick to quit. There's a couple of, if you think it's all about kids, the kids are oversubscribed with sports.
Yeah,
there's too much. There's too much going on. When we were younger, and when I was young, back in my day, yes, all right, okay, I hear it now. All right, Sean.
When the wheels were square.
I get it. Right, I heard it. Right, moving on. Back in the old days when John and I were children, back when the telly was black and white, there wasn't that many opportunities. You had football, and in my area, karate or football. So I liked football, but I wasn't great at football. So I wanted to try karate.
I've seen you play football.
Shut up. I'm enthusiastic. Well, I lack in skill, I make up for enthusiasm. Just like you and comedian, Sean.
Yes.
So
I just think committee there, not something else.
I was going to say something else there.
Let's keep this child friendly. So YouTube just banned.
Moving on. So the kids are oversubscribed. So a lot of parents, oh God, here I go. I get myself into trouble every time. A lot of parents are living their lives through their kids. A lot of parents going to push their kids to a certain sport that they want them to do. So I know kids that have gone to rugby, gone to football, gone to tennis, and they didn't actually want to do it. They're living vicariously through their parents. Now, speaking as a parent who's pushed their kids through martial arts, I know I'm a hypocrite, but I'm a grandchild too at some point. Poor Wayne doesn't know what's going to happen. But yeah, I think instead of letting them get a grounding in a particular sport, as you say, maybe I have a thing now where you join for 12 weeks minimum. Yeah. I had a spate just before lockdown of people joining. The kids seem to get the uniform, they get the Instagram photograph and Facebook photograph, and then they quit.
Yeah.
And I'm like, your child's learning nothing. There's no substance to that. It's very two-dimensional, and it's about what it looks like as opposed to what it is.
Yeah.
But I've also got amazing parents. Like, I'm not saying these are parents, I'm good parents. I'm not saying they're perfectly decent parents. It's just in some things that I disagree with as a sports coach.
Yeah.
And I've got other parents who totally see what it is we're doing, what it is we provide, what it is the child can get from it. And they keep them going. But another thing that happens, and again, I don't want to dominate the conversation, is that I had a conversation with my students the other week there. I said, why do you think most parents bring their kids to my club? Why do you think most of you are here? And when they were like, to learn how to fight, and learn how to batter people, how to kick them in the face, and learn to be ninjas. And I'm like, no, confidence.
Yeah.
Most parents, confidence and self-respect and discipline.
Yeah, that's a lot I can.
Is the reason I have never, and what I can now say in the last decade, teaching full time, of somebody coming in and saying, listen, can you teach my kid to smash people in the face? I've never had that conversation. Maybe where you're from, Sean, that's quite possible. That's possibly a thing.
In saying that though, I mean that was kind of my start to karate, because I mean I was an only child and I was getting bullied at school. My dad had been in the military police, and he'd learned Taimaki Aikido in the military police. But they didn't want me, they wouldn't take me on as a kid at that point. But we had a family friend, so mum and dad took me there. And yes, it was to learn confidence, but it was also to smash my bully's face as well.
Well, but that's not my experience in teaching. Yeah. I've never had somebody have that. That may have gone on in the background.
Yeah.
But it's never been what somebody's coming in. And what I've also found is that I work with these kids and I build these kids and I have a conversation with the parents. And we do work, and we do get through their first grading or second grading. We build their self-confidence up. We get them to a point where they're better than they were before. They're more resilient. And then they quit because they've reached their goal.
Yeah.
And it's quite. I'll be honest. There's a lot of, I know a lot of instructors out there are quite hardened to this because they've had their heart broken so many times. But you work with some students and you really work hard with them, and you actually put a lot of yourself into coaching and training. It's not just a stand there and count 1 to 10 in Japanese, and then they go, right, that's it.
I mean, my personal thing that I found is there's usually 3 points where a kid will, or 3, maybe 4 points where a kid will quit right away. When they get to 7th Q, when they get to brown belt, and once they pass their shodan,
yeah, I'd agree with
that's the points when you're going to kids are leaving.
The most kids quit in 12 weeks these days. I'm talking children. Most children quit within 12 weeks now. Because it's the conversation. I don't know if you have this. Maybe there's instructors going to nod out here when I say this, but they talk about blocks like the swimming club.
Yeah, when I get that all the time, how much for a block? And I'm like, it's not a block, it's you pay per month and it's an ongoing thing. It's not.
This is for life. There was no block. There is no block.
The only blocks are this and this and this.
They're not blocks. They're not blocks.
He did that. It wasn't me. I'll bring it back, John. With the oldies here, mate, we're going to take that push off this young.
Yeah.
So
I do get that.
But yeah, they say that and they go, right. So it gets to the end of the term. So they're programmed to think like the swimming clubs. The end of the term, they go, "Oh, we're going to continue that," and you're like, they don't know how to break a fist. Do you not think that's
the thing though, that a lot of parents and guardians, they look at it exactly the same way as they look at like football and the way they look at swimming. They don't look at it as a life skill endeavour as opposed to like a sporting thing.
I think we've made a rod for our own backs. And I'd actually say that people like Sean and I have made a rod for our own backs. Because the bulk of who comes into karate now are kids.
Yeah.
So, and in that respect, we've kind of, don't get me wrong, I've got some fantastic kids training me, and so is Sean, some absolute belters. Despite us, not because of us. But yeah, I think we've made a rod for our own back. Karate stopped being for grown-ups at some point.
No, yeah.
I think I've managed to get the right balance. I'm not just saying that because look at me. I mean, I've actually got about 60 adults in my club. Yeah, which is really unusual, I'm told.
I've got a handful, to be honest. I had more before lockdown, but now they're either uni or moved work, or I did have nearly 20 adults, but for various reasons. But no, I do agree with you, and just kind of touching on that point, kind of about the kids. I think, as you say, kids get bored very easily. It's not, and it's natural. It's not that. So we're always thinking. I don't know about you, but I always write my class plan for either the week or specific classes, and I'm always making sure, right, it's fun, especially for the younger ones. We teach from 4 and above, so you need to make sure that it's engaging all the time. If not, John just went.
But my you're right, but that's why when we have a different club for the younger ones. Yeah. But are we entertainment or are we?
Oh.
So you're right. But something I'd heard, I'm not going to jump over top of people.
No, you're fine.
Something I heard was that the problem is these days kids are not bored anymore, ever. Kids don't need to be bored because they have PlayStations and Xboxes and iPads, and if they don't get instant hit and gratification, they move on. They haven't learned to be resilient and perseverance. I've got a particular athlete who's come from a different country and has been here with me for a couple of years, I'm sure. Different mindset. He's an older lad, trains like an absolute machine. He's focused, he's determined, he's resilient.
Yeah.
He's mentally resilient, he's tough, takes a beating, loses like a champ, and a lot of our kids aren't like that anymore because they don't get to build up that resilience within themselves and as people, because they're so protected.
Yeah, and I agree. And I think, what can I just touch on that point? One of the other reasons I see some kids leaving the club is when they don't pass a grading or a belt test, and then they got 2 options. Obviously, they kind of come back and go, no, I'm I've had one of my students fail his black belt and he upgraded immediately. The day after, upgraded to an unlimited package. He started practicing and stretching every single night, and the improvement in that kid is unbelievable, honestly unbelievable. And then I've had guys that have failed and just quit the next day. You get the notification of cancellation that same day. And I don't know if that's kind of touching into the fact when you do competitions and when you do now, you get a participation medal and you're expected to get something. Whereas if you fail your belt test, you don't get anything. You don't get your certificate, you don't get a belt. Do you know what I mean? So they expect to get something, and I never did. Do you know what I mean? There was no participation medals when I was competing. Do you know what I mean? There was a Happy Meal, and that's how I got a Happy Meal when
I got an unhappy meal, mate. We didn't even have Happy Meals back in the day. So
you know what I mean? So
yeah,
I
I think you're possibly right. They're not a lot, and this is not, again, this is a general statement. And
yeah, it's not. We're not.
It's not. Some people, we've got to be realistic. Martial arts is not for everybody. Karate is not for everybody.
No.
Yeah.
We are an elite. When I say an elite sport, we are an elite sport insofar as it isn't for everybody. Anybody can throw a ball down, kick it, and feel good about themselves. Karate takes a certain mindset and a certain resilience to build up that skill set. And I've seen it, and I know you've seen it, Sean. But see those ones that have, they do leave me, but they're off to uni.
It's so sad. They do leave me.
No, but I mean, when they go into university, like you said earlier on, I've had guys going to university. They've moved on, not because, but they've built resilience. They've learned the importance of success through effort.
Yeah.
And those are skills that kids need. And if we're only catering to their short-term whims and not the long-term needs, then they're not going to have that resilience.
Do you not think, though, that at some point, though, that they're having the whole, I understand why it's there, and I went through it myself multiple occasions, because I started when I was 7 and I was 15 before I passed my first stand. And I think that sometimes, we've created this thing where gradings have became seen as a reward. I mean, it wasn't the first time where I was teaching somebody and they would come to me and they would say, how long until little Tommy hits first stand and gets his black belt? And I'd say, well, it'll take as long as it takes. But the dojo, the club down the road, they can guarantee it within 2 years. And I'm like, well, and that's what you're up against quite a lot of the time. No, you're up against, and as I say, don't get me wrong, making a living at teaching karate is absolutely brilliant. I did it myself. You guys do it now. But at the same time,
living is pushing it. I think making a living, I eat.
Yeah, you know what I mean, though. It's putting food on your table. Even if it's only toast and beans every now and again, it's still putting food on your table. But I think that the whole, from the public's perception when they bring their kids to karate instructors like you guys now and me in the past, that they're seeing the grading as a reward. Whereas it's really just a visual indicator, for where they are, and within that structure.
I would like to kind of add to that. I don't think they see it as a reward. I think they would see it as an expectation. Every kid expects. Yeah. I've had it so many times. I do a pre-grading assessment, and I let the ones that I think are ready grade, and those that aren't don't grade. So they're like, so why is so and so not grading? I was like, well, they need to work on this. So we kind of be positive and set a kind of path. I was like, the next grading is going to be what so and so, So I think a lot of people expect just to do the next grading all the time. Do you know what I mean? And as you say, just expect to get that reward just because they've done a few classes.
It's becoming a consumer mindset, and I have had this discussion with a few people in the past. In karate, we've got, as I'm sure you know, we've got the senpai kohai set up, the senior junior set up. You've got your juniors, seniors, teachers, so on and so forth. But I've actually heard instructors in person, online, and what they're talking about now is clients. No, they're not talking about students. They're not talking about having that type of relationship. It's purely consumerism because they're talking about clients, and that doesn't sit well with me.
I know, yeah. It's like when I hear it referred to as an industry, I find it difficult. But I think that's very much a karate thing. The reality is, us running clubs, is that we're up against some very organised, well-funded franchises from different styles, right? And I've said this before. and I'm not casting aspersions. I know good Taekwondo guys. I do. Taekwondo's got a lot of these franchise models. There's another Korean group that should remain nameless. That is incredibly, they're well funded, well organized, and they're only interested in hoovering up areas. And they go in and they hoover up, and if they don't get enough students, they'll shut the club and move on, and then they find another area. And that's what like traditional karate guys are up against, because we're not built like that. We didn't come through that structure.
No,
we didn't come up like that. So I know what you're saying. And I don't think there's many karate guys like that. I don't think of my students as clients. I do have to think of them as customers, insofar as they're paying the business money to be taught a skill set, and I take that seriously.
yes,
I don't just take the money and run.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt, but I agree. But you also, same as me, kind of refer to your club as a karate family, and I actually have a genuine interest in the students, like exam results, or if somebody's not well, I'll drop them a wee message the next day. So yeah, I do think obviously if you want to do it as a full-time job, you do have to do what Liam said. But as you touched on, John, people are losing that kind of student instructor kind of relationship where you actually care for what your students and have an interest in what they do.
Yeah, and somebody made a good point, and it's something you see quite often. But a lot of times it's not so much that the kids themselves are quitting; it's the parents that are quitting on the kids' behalf. And
I had one a wee while ago. What you're saying is right, and the wee one was great. You see, wee one wasn't a wee one, but older. It was really good, talented, could have done really well, and the parent just couldn't be bothered doing the 20-minute drive. And I was like, but I get that it's for me, it was never a problem. Yeah. Driving my daughter about the place or going wherever you need to go. That's what you do as a parent. You do the crime, you do the time. But I was incredulous. I was like, you get some kids that come in and it's not for them and it's not their part of their journey. And listen, you get it. That's it. You can tell fairly quickly the ones that are buying into it and get it. Others have surprised me over time. But this one, like, conscientious, always in time, great etiquette, worked hard in class, had fun, always had a smile on her face. Great. Mum just pulled the plug purely because it was inconvenient.
Yeah, I mean, I've had kids like that myself when I was teaching. When very first class I ever taught in St Mark's in Blairbeth.
I remember.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know we are.
His mum and dad had brought him down. He was an absolute no pocket rocket. Took him to some tournament, Danny Thompson's tournaments, and he was like hoovering up in the Kumite, not so much kata. But about a year and a half in, he stopped coming. Saw his big brother and says to him, "No, what happened to your wee brother?" He says, "Oh, mum and dad just felt it wasn't worth the time."
Yeah, I kind of had the kind of opposite of that. My wee brother, to be fair, me and my wee brother started karate at the same time, and he was only 5 and I was 7. And at the time, the club that we were in only took from 6 and above, but he was due to be 6 like in the February, and we started like in the August, say. So the instructor said, as long as he's kind of coming in with your brother, with the brother, and we'll have a go, and if he's all right, then he'll stay, and if not, then he can come back when he's 6. But my brother was always kind of very keen. So kind of a few years have passed, and my little brother with a few belts and stuff, and started kind of picking up other classes. My wee brother didn't want to go anymore. He said he was bored. Me, I loved it. I never at any point ever thought I would ever quit karate. But my wee brother just didn't want to do it. My dad's like, well, you're now getting to this stage, you're almost like at black. Like, let's just kind of commit and we'll do a few more classes. Maybe it's just you feel as if you're not doing enough and not picking up the moves. And obviously it gets harder as you go up the belts, obviously.
I tell you what, okay, there's some kids that have got it. They're resilient, they're athletic, they enjoy karate. And this is adults, and they love it and they click, but they're 1 in 100. They're not every student that comes in the door. You've also got the ones that come in. It's not for them. They don't enjoy it. They step off. It's just not for them. They can't do this bowing and stuff. It's not for them. But my favourite ones are the ones who are resilient, who manage to hold on all the way through. They don't come in and they're really athletic and they're really fit. The ones that maybe the ones like me, maybe that's why I can relate to them. They kind of grow through training. But going in and pushing on to your point is that when it gets to brown belt, it gets harder. And it gets more difficult. And also that black belt looms on the horizon. And I don't think some kids are resilient enough to cope with that. They feel like it's I've tried to downplay the black belt, not the importance of it, but I've tried to downplay the kind of fear of it.
Yeah.
Because I feel that it scares a lot of kids off. They just, because a lot of instructors go, I'm a black belt and I'm this, and the other, you will do that, all that kind of crap. And kids kind of go, I'll never be able to do that. And they get that wee monster in their head and they're done.
It's one of the things I tried to do. It's one of the things I tried to do when I was teaching was not downplay it, like you say, because it's an important achievement. But what I tried to do with the whole black belt thing was, look, when you're a coloured belt, you're learning your ABCs. When you get to black belt, you're still basically a beginner, but you're just starting to learn the cool stuff. And that's the way that I tried to get that over. That it's black belt's just another level at the beginning stage. That it's always going to be something. Yeah,
I agree. I mean, don't be wrong. I mean, everybody that makes it to black belt should be allowed it, because there's so many that do drift off and don't make it.
Yeah.
Again, one of my kind of mantras I say in class is so cliche, is that everybody in here can be a black belt, but not everybody's going to be a black belt.
Yeah.
Some of you'll drop off, some of you'll make excuses, some of you'll find it difficult, some of you, so which one do you want to be? Yeah. Which one do you want to be? What person? Make that decision, make that choice, and make that commitment. You're going to have good days, you're going to have bad days. There's been months when I was younger, going through my training, I was like, why am I here? Just had rough times of it. I still do.
Yeah.
And it's just, I should go back to Sean's original point. My worry is not whether or not they quit karate or they quit that. It's more about the ability, the society's ability to be resilient against things that are tough. Because, right, there's other countries out there, and I'm speaking as a UK guy, who sound like some far right lunatic. I'm really not. And these people are like, want to beat us. They want to be, you see in competition, these international guys, they just want to smash us. Certain teams internationally are just like machines. They train like absolute animals. And we just seem to lack that resilience and that edge and that push in this country. And I think it's because of what we discussed.
Yeah, I just kind of touching back on my point with my wee brother. Sorry, I was just kind of finishing the story there.
Sorry, pardon me, Sean.
No, you're fine. No, it's good. So he ended up sticking at it, and about a year and a half down the line, he passed his Shodan. He was selected for the Scotland team and won the World Championships. Like a year and a half down the line, so 18 months before that, he wanted to quit. 18 months later, he was a world champion in the black belt. I think just sometimes you need to learn. Oh, can you hear that?
What was that?
The Orla's up.
Oh.
Great. So I think
my alarm's going off. That's his youngest.
Sean's getting rated.
Yeah. Okay. Back to mode, lads.
He's been kiboshed. He's been pulled off.
Oh no.
That's it. He's in trouble.
Oh no.
Quite rapid. Come back on that black eye. Yeah, but I think what Sean says there is absolutely bang on, insofar as that there's a lot of people quit just before they can make that breakthrough. I always get frustrated at brown belt, brown 1, brown 2, when you see the kids drift off and you're just about to nail it. And they're like, I can't make them. My favourite one is, I can't make them come to karate. And you're like, I didn't get an option. Get in the car. Get in the car.
It's like, another one I had as well was I was a kid. And I remember, to you and I, Basai Dai is just like the first, what I would call the cool katas, right? And I remember, when I was a colour belt, and I saw people doing, Basai Dai and things like that. I thought, yeah, I want to learn that kata. I don't want to be learning Pinan Godan or no Gekisaichi anymore. I want to be learning. Basai Dai.
Do you know what you're talking about? I don't know these words.
I said that I heard that I want to learn. That was it.
But anyway, my point is, you get kids in there like, I want to learn that kata. They see the brown belts, practicing the kata and think, I want to do that. And yet they get to that point, and that's when a lot of them start walking away. And like, you just want to learn that kata.
I think my personal kind of experience, if I can use that word, is I think the black belt looms too large sometimes. I think some instructors make too much of not. You shouldn't play down black belt, but you shouldn't make it seem like some unattainable superhuman feat, because that's a lot for somebody to take in, adult or child.
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
a lot for them to take in. So I also think a lot of instructors do it to boost their own position, as opposed to, am I making sense? I'm a black belt and I'm fantastic. And if you want to be a fantastic like me, you'll shut up. And it's just you know the type I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And I just think, again, it's just about common sense. As you say, it's what is a black belt? What is it? But I say to my guys, like the guys who go to uni, the guys who are off to uni, nobody writes on their CV, I made it to yellow belt in karate 6 years ago. Do you know what I mean? Nobody writes that on their CV. I've written plenty of references for universities over the last few years, because it shows perseverance, resilience, the fact that you can commit to something, stick to it, and excel. Tell me what college and university doesn't want to read that. Tell me what business, high-level business does one. I've got one of the boys that went to KPMG. Tell me which one of these businesses doesn't want to read that somebody has ability to commit, work hard, and excel.
Yeah, exactly. Because it teaches kind of values and stuff as well.
Yeah, it's not just the punching and kicking. As you're right, it says the values, and it's character building. So cliche because it's used as a catchphrase so often, but it's true if it's done right. I don't know what happened to us, in fairness. We obviously missed out in the character building, but
I just did it to hit people. Nobody do.
I was too wee to hit people.
No, that's good. No, I think we've touched on a lot of kind of good points, and you kind of a lot of key words there, kind of resilience, character building, goal setting. I think not just the fact that you need to stick at something, the fact that if you do stick at it, it's going to benefit you in the long run. I like that kind of saying that you had there, Liam, about the whims, short whims, long. I don't know. What did you say?
I don't know. May I talk pish? I have no idea what it's
Yeah.
But the people who want the short-term goals, they want the short-term photographs, not the long-term benefits, and that seems to be, for some people, not everybody. That's a gross exaggeration, but also a lot of those things, the words we just used there, are used so often as advertising material, and I'm guilty too, that they become cliche, and people don't actually value. That makes sense. They don't actually value it, what it actually is, and I think that's something we need to come back to. And I do think that if we can discuss this another day about competition-driven clubs, where if your success is only measured by your ability to win a medal, somehow you're less worthy as a karate guy, and that's a load of crap as well. That drives me crackers. So
the episode would be 2 hours long if we done that.
Yeah, you start me on that. We'd be here till Tuesday.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly, I mean, I don't know if I'm just being naive of that. I mean, like 40 years in this, 40 odd years in this game, a good 30 of those as an adult. And
I say I can make old jokes now. Magic.
But just before we wrap up, see, you've made me lose my train of thought there now.
Excellent. That's what we do here.
Yeah, I can see that. What were they talking about?
Nobody knows, mate. Nobody knows. Nobody knows. Right, we're going to call it quits there anyway, boys. This is our first one back, and it's our first one with poor John having to put up with Sean and I. Well done, John. You've survived us talking utter nonsense. Hopefully you can afford you can now have that karate podcast background. Now you've earned your wings. You can you don't even want to know, people. You don't even want to know. It was a whole thing before we get started, but it's all right. We're on it.
It was a whole thing, and see when the two that I've done with Kareem as well. It was a whole thing with Kareem as well. Technology works absolutely fine for me until I go to use Zoom, and then it just all falls apart. It hates me.
I've been using Zoom flawlessly for 20 months, mate, and it hates me.
It hates me.
I don't think it physically hates you. I think you are useless with technology, which is worrying You're one of those old
Consider my
guys who
job.
goes, click to my phone.
Considering my job, you know.
Let's not discuss that. People who write letters. Right, guys, we're going to call it quits there. Thank you very much for listening to our nonsense. I hope it was cohesive. Thank you, John, for joining us. You clicked in beautifully there.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you, Sean, for your usual ageist jokes, you bastard. And thank you to you poor listeners for putting up listening to our just drivel, just absolute drivel. Well, we're back at it. We're going to be back in a normal schedule. We're going to get some people in to interview and to chat with. Sean and I will obviously discuss Shota Khan, and John will discuss whatever the hell it is he does. Some wave your hand crap. I can hear there's people out there going, "Who's the kids?" I'm joking. But it's been great to get back at it and get back on the wagon, as it were. As always, stay safe, people. Look after yourselves and keep training. So thank you very much.
See you later, guys. Thank you.
Bye.
Take care. All right, guys. Off in 3, 2, and 1.